directly impact me, but I'm concerned about the neighbors that are right next to it. I think it is a large impact on them, being a 6-story building right next to nice 2-story residential. I think would be a major impact on the neighbors there, and I think it's not the right spot for that location. Although I think the hotel is a nice concept, and I think Graves would do a good job building the hotel.
All right, thank you. And next speaker, yes, please state your name and address.
Hello, everybody. My name is Jaime Jarrin. I live at 3024 Emerson Avenue South. In addition to expressing my personal opposition to this hotel proposal, I'm speaking on behalf of my husband and family members and a lot of neighbors and friends that live in the Uptown and Carrick neighborhood. We don't oppose the idea of a hotel in Uptown in an appropriate location such as the activity center, but we adamantly oppose this proposal, especially the rezoning of the building and the building size, scale, and density that they are asking for. It's out of scale with the location and completely contrary to the Uptown Small Area Plan. This is just a land use issue, plain and simple, and the proposed hotel is too much building for too small of a space and in a location that's not designated in use after C3A zoning. The Graves proposal also directly conflicts with 5 out of the 10 half of the purposes of the city zoning code. I grew up in Minneapolis and I relocated back here 2.5 years ago. And before we made the decision to invest and make our home in the Carrick neighborhood, I did a lot of homework, so did my husband. We contacted the Carrick board. I researched what was happening on the empty lots in the area. And on the Minneapolis website, I found the Uptown Small Area Plan. It seemed to make perfect sense to me. It seemed very current to what is happening in Uptown. And it was a big swaying point for us making Carrick our home. So I really hope that you will support the USAP and uphold it in your decision today. Shortly after we moved into Carrick, Stuart Ackerberg purchased Calhoun Square, and he participated in a very well-attended neighborhood meeting to discuss what he planned to perhaps do on his property. He shared that he was considering a boutique hotel on his empty lot on the site, and the neighbors were very excited. Not one person said, but that Lake and Emerson site would be so much better for a hotel, because it isn't. This location does not make sense for a hotel. At the November 10th, 2015 Carrick land use meeting, Ben Graves, while introducing their hotel proposal,
You're at 2 minutes.
He said that lot was too expensive. Anyway, any questions for me?
Thank you.
Okay.
All right, who would like to go next? Yes, please state your name and address.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Steve. I live at 3125 Emerson, a block and a half south of the hotel. Been to the neighborhood meetings and expressed my disapproval for the hotel, basically on the scale, on the height, parking impact. The 6 on-site parking spots and the 35 spots for valet vastly underestimate probably the parking pressure that will be put on the building itself. In terms of the business viability of the hotel, yes, what a great idea. It would be great if it was north of Lake Street as opposed to south of Lake Street, because it is out of scale with existing buildings. It seems as though the business in Uptown, it is placed directly between the 2 hubs. There doesn't seem to be that much weekday business or office work done in Uptown. It is mostly a retail and weekend activity center. The activities would then, for the hotel, have low occupancy during the week, high occupancy on the weekends. It's a good idea. It's inappropriate for the area. Living on Emerson Avenue South, we already have permit parking on the 3000 block within 3 blocks, and of course parking is very difficult there because of the permit parking. My block is 1 block south, whereupon on weekends, on evenings, virtually impossible to have guests. We are next to have permit parking. There would be much more flow, accessibility, and just livability issues by virtue of having this hotel, so it's inappropriate in its site. Thank you.
All right, thank you. And who would like to go next? Yes, please state your name and address. Oh, thank you.
Good evening, President Brown, members of the Commission. My name is Aaron Rubenstein. I live at 3249 Emerson Avenue South, which is 3 blocks south of the proposed hotel site. I am a member of the CARIG Land Use and Transportation Committee. I was president of the CARIG board for 2 years and chair of its zoning committee for 9 or 10 years before it changed its name to the Land Use and Transportation Committee. But this evening I'm speaking just for myself, not representing CARIG. In your packet, there's a 2-page letter from me expressing my opposition to the project and a 5-page attachment with some findings that are sort of contrary to the findings in the staff report. And this evening, if I have time, I want to speak very quickly to the small area plan and its importance and the rezoning. So hitting just the highlights, I want to say that the zoning in this larger area was evaluated and adjusted in the Midtown Greenway rezoning study adopted by the City Council in April 2010. Much of the urban village was rezoned at that time from C2 to C3A. It was clearly a purposeful decision to leave the existing C2 zoned areas between the Hennepin Lake and Lynn Lake activity centers as C2. It appears that planning staff has misread the proposed development intensity map in the small area plan, which shows medium intensity urban oriented development on the south side of Lake Street between Bryant and Fremont. This map is not in the packet. Let's see, how do I zoom out? Well, in any case, you can see here's the site. This is a medium intensity, not the high intensity use proposed for the activity center and the part of the urban village between Lake Street and the Greenway. And that's a critical distinction, that the small area plan calls for that kind of taller development north of Lake Street, between Lake Street and the Greenway, and, as you know, hotels in the activity center. Let's see.
And you're at 2 minutes now.
Really? That's not possible. Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Any questions?
Who would like to speak next? Yes. Please state your name and address.
Hi, my name is Dan Olsen. I live at the corner of 32nd and Emerson South. I'm against this project, and mostly because of the scale and size of the project relating to the small area plan that I think is not being heeded at all. But my biggest concern as a local, as a landowner on Emerson, is I don't think the traffic patterns on Emerson and DuPont have been addressed south of Lake Street. I think they're only talking about as far south as the alley. Emerson is a one-way going south, DuPont one-way going north, with paid parking on the 3000 block of Emerson. After that, it's open parking. But I don't think 5 parking spots on site are adequate. I think the 35 spots at our valet parking lot, I mean, you had talked earlier, the proposal before, north side, about how changing the use of a land is permanent. I just worry about the 35 spots that are lost to the neighborhood. There's not much parking. There's a lot of parking pressure. I think everyone's worried about the impact and having more street traffic as far as pedestrians and bicycles and stuff. But there's a lot of cars. There's a lot of pressure on the neighborhood, and I think there needs to be more parking. And I think we're asking for a lot by putting this hotel in, as far as parking in the neighborhood and as far as traffic on Emerson, DuPont, and just people trying to circle to find a free parking spot. I mean, if you have to pay for a parking spot for valet, I don't think everyone's going to do that. So I think we have to be realistic, and I think it's asking a lot of the neighborhood for the amount of variances and the types of variances requested. Thank you.
All right, thank you. And who would like to speak next? Yes, please state your name and address.
I'm Stephen Taylor. I'm a landlord in Uptown. I own the property at 3013, 3015 Emerson Avenue South. I think this is the wrong location for this to be at. I think there's much better locations to put it at. I think everything else they're developing along Lake Street, the south of Lake Street, is 2 stories, 1 story. That should be how it should be. If you want a hotel, go put it over by Flux. Go put it by Calhoun Square. Don't put it in our neighborhood. Don't put it where we have people transitioning through our neighborhood every single night, drunks, walking down the street. We don't need that. Put it over by Calhoun Square. Go put it by Flux. Put it anywhere but our neighborhood. Thank you.
Thank you. And who would like to speak next? Yes, please come to the microphone and state your name and address.
Evening. My name is Troy Wink. I'm a property owner of commercial property at 1620 West Lake Street, about 6 blocks west of the site. I also operate a business at that address. I've got about 30 employees. And similar to the other business owner, I support the project. Uptown has almost everything. We've got the lakes, we've got the recreation, we've got food shopping, clothes shopping, miscellaneous shopping. We've got housing, we've got restaurants. The one thing we don't have is a hotel. We need a hotel. We've got out-of-town clients as well who travel. And we also have company events. And when we have those company events, we've actually talked about whether the uptown restaurants are the right spot to have them because it's so far from hotels for our employees. I've heard a lot of talk tonight about conforming with the Uptown Small Area Plan. My understanding is the document was adopted about 8 years ago. And I'd just like to make a brief comment about planning. I plan in my business. I plan in my life. I plan my career. And I know plans always change. And my understanding is this project generally conforms with the intent of the planning document that was adopted 8 years ago. And based on that, we fully support the project and we hope that you approve it. Thank you.
Thank you. And who would like to speak next? Is there anyone else who would like to speak? Yes, please state your name and address.
Good evening. My name is Phillip Quality, 3021 Emerson Avenue. I speak here as a private resident. I do not oppose a hotel in Uptown. I want to pay my respects to the Graves family. I respectfully respect the City of Minneapolis, the Planning Commission, to vote against all land use applications at hand. If there's any two things that you can get valuable out of my testimony tonight, it is Minnesota Statutes 473.865, part of the Metropolitan Land Planning Act. Again, I direct the clerk's attention, please, to Minneapolis Statutes, section 47.3.865, which states that, restaurants may be, I'm misreciting, Section B, no conflict with plans. A local government unit shall not adopt any official control or fiscal device which is in conflict with its comprehensive plan or which permits activity in conflict with the metropolitan systems plans. This is not consistent with the Uptown Small Area Plan. They talk about height on the north side of Lake Street. They have arbitrarily transferred it to the south side. The south side of Lake Street has had no factual change in height limits. You cannot consider it a commercial transit corridor. That is in the north part of Lake Street, where we have the Greenway corridor, we have the bike paths, and where it does say in the Uptown Small Area Plan that hotels should be located in the activity center. If you turn Minneapolis or planning plans and the comprehensive plan upside down, that we will not find that acceptable. I'm very concerned, Mr. Chairman, about the traffic in the area, and if I may embellish an extra 15 seconds, I do not believe we've had an efficient and adequate independent study of the traffic. Right now, the way the valet looks, they're going to have 4 driving routes through our neighborhood. The fourth would be to drive east on Lake Street over to Colfax, which is essentially driving east 3 blocks to drive 5 blocks west to Calhoun Square. Thank you very much. And again, I respectfully ask that, it's going to be necessary. We have to have more time to have this debate. We ask you to respectfully vote against this. This is not current with city planning and the small area plan. Thank you.
Thank you. And who would like to speak next? Yes, please state your name and address.
My name is Steve Nowicki, and I live at 3032 DuPont Avenue South with my wife since 1989. This is 8 lots south of the proposed hotel site. I'm going to truncate what I have to say here because everybody seems to be running out of time. But the Uptown Small Area Plan has been adopted city policy since 2008, and one of its purposes is to ensure that the interests and investments of homeowners and residents of the residential blocks to the south of Lake Street are as important as those of the business sector. Many residents consider the USAP a compact with the city about uptown development that limits the scale of development on the south side of Lake Street. These residents, like me and my wife and many of my Carrick neighbors that you've heard from here tonight, have invested in our properties with this understanding. The proposed 6-story hotel would be harmful to the use and enjoyment of the residential properties to the south and would negatively impact neighborhood livability for Carrick residents. I don't think anybody speaking here today opposes a hotel in Uptown. And the impression is that it's this location or no other. And there are plenty of other sites in the activity center and elsewhere north of Lake Street. And some of these are vacant parcels or parking lots that would be appropriate for a hotel. I'll just list a few of them. There's a parking lot behind the Uptown Theater and Rainbow Building. There's the Sons of Norway site. There's the McDonald's site. There's the vacant parcel at Lake and Grand in front of the Calhoun parking ramp. I mean, these go on and on. The hotel, regardless of the pictures we've been shown, will not be invisible. And this is a ploy that the Mosaic developer also made, that the building's visibility will be limited as it doesn't have street frontage, but that building cannot be missed, and neither will this one. It will be. I also heard a point from staff.
You're at 2 minutes.
Okay, the hotels. Just the fact that hotels were nearly permitted as C2 uses under zoning codes, under zoning code revisions last year, are in no way relevant. C3A under city hotel uses require C3A zoning.
All right, thank you. Who would like to speak next? Yes, please state your name and
My name is Kay Nygaard Graham. I live at 3037 Emerson Avenue South. I have been a member of the CARAG Land Use Committee for many years. And I've owned my home since 1977 when I closed. So here's the thing. Here are the questions that I think we should be asking, and I'm hoping that you will ask yourselves. It seems that staff has been cleverly confused what the difference between the neighborhood and the urban village is. Where does one begin? Where does one end? It seems to me that we need to answer another question, and that is, what do we really want from you, and what I would like from all of you. Thank you, Commissioner Vreeland, for pointing this out, and I'm asking all of you to please read for yourselves and carefully compare and contrast the staff report to the actual findings that are required by the Minneapolis zoning code that are clearly and plainly stated in the small area plans and in the comprehensive plan. What we oppose is we are opposed to the zoning changes for 1121 Westlake and 2005 Emerson Avenue because they are not consistent or compatible with the small area plan policy and should not be implemented. I would also say that I would like to ask you to consider carefully the future of community engagement in this city and how much it meant to so many of us who spent countless hundreds of hours educating ourselves, studying, attending meetings, and working on these plans, the comprehensive plan, small area plan. And quite frankly, you know, when we come before you, we're not NIMBYs. Well, we're all NIMBYs in this regard, because at some point, what we need to do is...
We're over 2 minutes now, so we should probably move on to another speaker. So
let me finish my
thank you very much.
I would just say, please consider this the future of community engagement and what your decision will have in regard to discouraging further participation in these projects. Thank you.
And who would like to speak next? Yes. Please state your name and address.
Hello, my name is Nazir Mohammad. I live at 3033 Emerson Avenue South. I've been a resident for over 15 years. My husband and his family have been residents on this block for since 1972. They've done many things to help contribute towards improving many of the other properties on this block, as well as fought to stabilize some zoning in this block as well. And my point is just basically in defense of the small area plan. The small area plan is a big part of why we own property here, and it shows a healthy balance and respect of the commercial and residential aspects of the community. Coming from Boston, that is a very important thing. I'm come from a city that is much more heavily dense, and I respect the balance of the community, of the retail, of the residents, everybody. But the small area plan does lay out a basic network that says that shows respect basically for the residences and has a certain community activity center, as it's called, that where a hotel is most appropriate for. So I guess that's basically mostly my point. I just in defense of the small area plan. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to speak? Yes, please state your name and address.
My name is Clark Olsen. I live at 3029 Emerson Avenue South. I live about 300 feet from the proposed development. I appreciate the statement that was made at the end of the last decision. That was that rezonings are significant decisions that stick with the property. Okay. Now, also significant are small area plans. The Uptown Small Area Plan is significant to me and my neighbors. My neighbors and I have invested hundreds of thousands of dollars purchasing our homes, maintaining our homes, all under the assumption that the city would honor this plan. The proposed location for this hotel is clearly outside of the boundaries of the activity center that is well defined within the Uptown Small Area Plan. There is no precedent for expanding the activity center to the south side of Lake Street on Emerson Avenue. The projects that were mentioned in the staff report are all on the north side of Lake Street. So in my mind, those are not things that you can look at as having precedent for this. I've heard the comment from the staff and from business owners that, things have changed since 2008, since the Uptown Small Area Plan was passed. If that's the case, great. I would say, if the committee believes that, then, undertake a process to revisit the plan, look at it holistically. Do not make ad hoc decisions that determine who the winners and losers of this community are. Thank you.
Thank you. And who would like to speak? Yes. Please state your name and address for the record.
Hi, my name is Lynn M Strauss. I live at 3149 Emerson Avenue South. I know it's getting late. I know it's hot in here. I know we're bored, but I would appreciate your attention. Thank you. I have two questions. First one is, it is January 8th. It's in Minnesota. It's 16 degrees. How many of you biked here? How many of you biked here? 2. Excellent. So 35 parking spots is plenty for a 122-room hotel. I want to make that point. The second question I want to ask is, how much are we going to be charging for the rooms in this hotel? I want to make sure that we are charging an appropriate amount for the area and that it's not going to be a $50 hotel room like it is in Milan. And that is the Moxie brand. I looked it up. It costs $50 to stay in a hotel in Milan. Has anyone here ever been to Italy? Does anybody know what you can get for $50 in Milan? So I just want to make sure, does anybody know what we're charging for these rooms? Has that been a question that's been asked?
That's really not something that's relevant to.
How is that not relevant? Are you going to put a $50 hotel room on the corner of my block? I want to know, because I know who's going to stay at a $50 hotel room. When was the last time anybody here stayed in a $50 hotel room? Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Who would like to speak next? Is there anyone else who would like to speak? Yes, please state your name and address.
Good evening. I'm Jerome and I've been a long-time resident in Minneapolis and more than 10 years in Carag. I'm at 3304 DuPont Avenue. Thank you for giving me a little bit of time. I understand the viewpoint of my neighbors, but I come from a different angle. Originally, I'm from Paris, and each time I come back here, I find the urban space rather ugly and inconsistent and not urban enough. And I think this is an opportunity to change that. I see so many parking lots, and that's one of them, that are really an eyesore and a blight in our city. And I think this needs to change, and the city needs to move forward, needs more density. Here we have an opportunity to change that, to improve the aesthetics, the urban life of this neighborhood. In addition, I want to stress the fact that a parking lot the way it is right now is really not very good for safety. Another difference between European cities and American cities is a safety issue. If you look at the map of crimes on Lake Street, it's significantly higher than in a European city. Any empty block invites other forms of crime, and this is another way to address it. So I hope this evening, as you have the opportunity to get rid of one of our parking lots, you take that chance for the sake of aesthetics, urban life, and safety. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to speak? Anyone else? If there's no one else, I will close the public hearing. And commissioners, are there any further questions of staff or the applicant? Or would someone like to start the discussion with a motion?
I do have a question.
Commissioner Breland.
So I'm the newest member here, and I'm trying to figure out what's the basis of how we make decisions related to the small area plan. And so this is perhaps a question for Mr. Wittenberg. Again, I can cite a number of pages of the small area plan, and I can, if that helps you answer the question. Page 82, height and scale reinforces a response to the neighborhoods. Page 85, the growth should be directed towards the core. Page 87, reinforce surrounding neighborhoods. Page 92, stepping back, buildings south of lake. Page 106, sculpted building envelope. Page 107, building elements taller than 4 stories or 56 feet should be set back from the front facade. And there are some other ones, but my understanding is that it's not discretionary for me to not look at the small area plan as the basis for my decision making. Is that true or not?
Maybe Mr. Wittenberg, you can clarify that relationship between the plan policies and the zoning requests.
Mr. Chair and Commissioner Breland, I think staff laid out at least, 15 minutes worth of rationale for why they believe that the findings can be met in this instance. If you, as a commissioner, placed in this position of being a judge in the situation, disagree with that, then presumably your vote will reflect that. I don't know that I have anything else to add beyond what staff indicated for their basis of their recommendation, but from staff's standpoint, this is a supportable project with the applications in front of you.
Okay.
Are there any further questions? If there are no further questions, would someone like to make a motion? We have 7 applications before us, starting with a rezoning. Commissioner Slack.
I'll make a motion to approve staff recommendation for item A, rezoning to C3A.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion on that? Commissioner Bender.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I wanted to say I really appreciate everyone taking the time to come and speak about this, and I have had the opportunity to hear many times from my constituents about this proposal at neighborhood meetings, at meeting with neighbors. The block that many of you live on Emerson is a beautiful part of the community, and I understand very much why you're here tonight to talk about this project. You know, when we're looking at rezonings, like I said, it is a significant decision, and these are legislative decisions that we make, which are a little different than the quasi-judicial ones for the other applications. So we're really looking at, does this fit in with our city's policies? And when I look at Lake Street, you know, it's a It's a wide, busy commercial corridor. It's a place where I think the low-scale development that is there now is not appropriate. It's underutilizing the land. And so the question is just what goes there instead. And that's not to say there are beautiful, low-scale, historic, older buildings there, but the sort of auto-oriented 1950s style surface parking lot development is not what I think most people want to see in the community, and it's certainly not what the policy guidance in the small area plan envisioned. It envisioned dense mixed-use development. And so I think staff has done a good job of outlining why this application meets the policies in the plan. And so I am supporting this rezoning for the hotel. I did not support the previous iteration that did not come before this committee, but I made very clear that I was not. I had a lot of concerns about the previous design. I've been appreciative of how much time hundreds of people have taken to participate in this process and the changes that have been made. Those come more in the the upcoming applications, the site plan review. But again, I think the rezoning itself is in keeping with the small area plan and with all of our guidance that says we really want to concentrate growth to commercial corridors. There is no commercial corridor in the city that I can think of that is busier than Lake Street. It's, again, a wide transit corridor, lots of traffic. It's the kind of place where I think we want to direct growth, if anywhere. So that's why I'm supporting rezoning. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Kronzer.
Thank you. I just want to make a couple of points about the rezoning. I think in this case, the future is clear with this rezoning. Sometimes we're often asked, rezone something and don't have a specific plan. This plan is very clear of what the future for potentially many, many, many years will be here. So I think that gives me at least some comfort in not rezoning something to some future potential unknown use. And plans can't always